right then, Bleed back on your screens. Mirage again, but this time it's a best of 3 banger. Win this and you get a spot in the closed qualifier. Their opponents will be Entropiq on the CT side. Bleed starting things off on the T side, Vince.
Indeed they are. Best of 3s are now upon us as Milky goes in for the first. Hamp is on the receiving end of that one. He had a very good performance when we last casted Bleed over on Ancient. And so did Lonks, the heavy hitter, the artillery barrage Meister himself. But Milky goes in for 2 more, and this pistol round is just sliding away from Bleed. Circ in an unenviable position of 3 players spraying at him in underpass, and it's Entropiq that come out ahead in the pistol.
Nice way to get the ball rolling on that CT side of Mirage. Starting it off with a bang. We had seen a Mirage game from Bleed much earlier in the open bracket. Problem is, it was against a lot lesser opposition, and Bleed were allowed to basically just push and pull on the T side wherever they wanted to. It was Lonks and Cypher that had a lot of the heavy lifting, Circ having a few odd moments, and Hampus hitting some big deagle shots as well. What have they got in store for us on this one? It's definitely something we'll be seeing. These are the more intense games. This is when we'll actually see Bleed tested a lot more than we did last time around when we checked in with them in the open qualifier. Circ going to go for the run boost across out middle, try and bait the crosshair of anyone playing in window, but there's no one there. They're allowed to walk their way down and potentially go for a connector burst. Tizian throws over the flashbang, and Marix looked like he wanted to swing into it to knock them all down, but they come a knocking.
Oh, they've pulled out the sledgehammer. They've bashed down the door, but Marix behind it says not today. Evicts them off the property, and Entropiq cartwheel their way into a 2-0. It was looking a little bit shaky when Tizian got picked off there on Con, but it all fell into place nicely. Bleed with full AKs, and completely agree with you, Jacky. It's a conversation that we had last time where, you know, the first game I think we watched Bleed 13-0'd. I think that was Grand Team, if memory serves me correctly, over on Inferno. And then they had a 13-5 off stream, and we casted them again. I think it was like 13-3. And it was pretty smooth sailing, but we were saying when they start playing against legit teams is when we're going to get a really good barometer for how good this team actually is right now. And Circ in particular is going to get properly tested. And I think we've ran into that gauntlet here. It could end up being a one-sided affair, but early on, Entropiq are getting their money's worth. Lonks already bypassing the smoke, getting onto Tetris, has Palace as well for a crossfire that could be set up. Tizian with an MP9 up close, but he's behind the triple box. Not necessarily an ideal position for this weaponry. As Circ goes in, Tizian may get one, but there's no way he's surviving.
And Lonks was absolutely lethal when we saw them previously. Into this round, he gets a nice pick towards CT. Collins overwhelmed on the spam by Connector. He drops to a blind Circ who goes berserk, and Cypher strikes with a back headshot onto Oxygen, leaving him gasping for air on that one. Marix massively outnumbered, 1 versus 4. You're going to be trapped back down towards Connector. And Cirque's able to find that quick trade as Hampus falls. So Bleed do get their first on the board pretty quickly into this one, conceding the pistol in the following conversion, and finally picking it up with rifles to work with into the third.
Yeah, as soon as those full-on AKs came to the forefront, Bleed looked like they were in a different class, and instantly you see the curse of the CT side. Economically speaking, you've won 2 on the bounce, you lose 1, and you straight into eco territory. It is a very cruel mistress at times, but Lonks is going to make the most of it. I would say it's kind of difficult to gauge like who the best player is that we've seen so far, Jacky, because we've actually seen a lot of CS's Oxygen splatters Lonks. But I think Lonks is definitely in the conversation from the players that I've witnessed in terms of his kind of just general command over the server when he's feeling it, when he's getting those frags. He has so much impact. And Tizian with the narrowest of angles was hoping and praying for a slow peak. Faven takes some damage and just pulls back. He's done his job for now.
Bit of poking, bit of prodding. You've definitely got the range advantage to work with here. Rifle's out, but the problem is the Eagles in close quarters engagements, that's where they're at their absolute best. Beheading of Hampus as Marix will swing. Lands one with the dirty dig. And brings it back into a 3 versus 3. Up connector and 2 players pushing ramp. Timing could be everything. Troublesome Tizian on the flank. Going for the backstab with a 5-7. Bleed committing to the bomb plant now as Cirque gets those digits hammered in. Favin's rear is exposed, but he turns just at the right time. Finds that one and is able to quell the potential upset play. How do the CTs respond now? You're massively exposed. Any angle you fight towards, there should be room for a quick trade for Bleed. And Favin with the HE will blow away the last man. So Bleed take 2 and level out the playing field to a pop into the 5th round.
Indeed they do, and they've managed to bypass through a few threats that Entropiq were posting up. Now comes the proper buy, though, with the AWP in tow. Cirque also has himself an AWP, 103 ADR versus 106 on his opposite number, Milky. And to give you an idea of how Bleed got here as well, today they beat Ilka 13-4 in Inferno, and they beat Sangal. That was a pretty close game, 13-9. Sangal's another one of those teams that people expected to maybe go the distance and qualify for the close qualifiers, but they're going to have to go back to the drawing board for tomorrow. And so Bleed, they've been on a hot streak, man. I think the closest game they've had is against Sangal. Everything else has been pretty one-sided. That flash, though, absolute perfection. Favin had no chance.
Blind, dazed, and confused. Left scratching his head at the end of that one. And Bleed, what's the response? Oh, Cypher. Usually such a nuisance maker when he goes for these sort of plays. You can't leave him posted up, kind of like a bit of a turret. He's got such good aim that usually his reactions are really on point for a bit of a backstab. Make it awkward and waste a lot of utility. Draw a lot of focus from the CTs to that area of the map. This time he comes unstuck. Gets the dink off onto Oxygen, but couldn't height commit onto it. Lonks as well. Peeks into the scope. So any semblance of control on this round for Bleed has been ripped away from them. Again, Tizian feeling like he's got all the space in the world. You can see that he's pretty comfortable with his ability to just walk through Palace time and time again. He's already in T-spawn. And Cirque's going to be walking up. Potential timing for him to be spotted here and spanked from the back, lose that AWP, and give up a lot of money in the moment. Run straight back into the crosshair, Vince, and is spotted from top mid.
Yeah, certainly surprised at that fast flank. Hampus did deal the fatal damage to Oxygen, who was mollied out of the balcony. Problem for Hampus, though, is he's just holding on. And with 10 seconds, Marix may have his number. He has the off angle right now. Marix probably doesn't expect him to be in this position. Runs straight across, and Hampus tracks him and neutralizes him. So he will be able to save the AK, but the AWP is lost, and so is the economic stability that Bleed were enjoying in the previous couple of rounds. So Entropiq showing they're not going to get completely blown out of this one early on, and we didn't expect them to. We thought that this, in terms of the games that we were offered for the quarters, Jacky, was probably one of the closer ones, and we're seeing why early on here. Entropiq doing a good job of keeping themselves in this game.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it should have a lot of meat and potatoes to it, a series like this. This is one of the bigger tests for Bleed. And they've had some good results throughout the open qualifier, like we said, but into a best of 3, we get to see how well they can perform across a series of maps, not just a one-off in the best of ones, how consistent they can be. Into this round, it really is just the one rifle you've got to play with. That's on Hampus, but the Deagles for Bleed have been consistently damaging. And again here, you find an opening pick. Lonks is able to try and backstab, but runs into Oxygen's crosshair, cauterizing the bleeding as he shuts down control of the shop and won't allow them access for free into the B bomb site. Minutes still on the clock. You've still got the one rifle as well, but you're vastly outnumbered here. Cirque and Hampus with a lot to do.
Yeah, and Oxygen's not over aggressive. He's just watching the close angle. They would have heard him drop, I think. So Hampus has the right idea. Effectively a 2v1 at this stage. Colin's not in a position to help his teammate out. He'd have to rummage around the back of ladder room. So this is allowing safe passage for Cirque and Hampus to make a move through. This off angle that Oxygen has, a pretty common one. But Collins sprays in, and any potential crisis has been averted. Just making sure that they were on the same page with Entropiq. The B site hold is good, but another buy coming around the corner. And kind of curious to see here, Jacky, what Bleed are going to do next, because they're not going to have an AWP. Hampus can't afford an AK or a Galil, so maybe set plays on the horizon here.
It's interesting as well, because I believe the last time we saw them on Mirage, I believe it was very aggressive towards a lot of their set plays were just about trying to push down mid early, allow Cirque to find control with the AWP. And of course, that's classic Mirage, right? Gain control mid, gain control the map from there. Here, it's been a lot more on the extremities. They've attempted to try their luck up through ramp. Been a bit hit and miss. Tizian's felt like he kind of has a playground towards Palace. He's been waltzing in whenever the timing's not been there, when there's no early pressure. And this time, they're just walking straight up with a raw ramp face. Favin's going to be clocked if he goes for the push out through Palace. I've got this angle on lockdown. He's looking for the head. Wants to offer up a free haircut for anyone that peeks into him. And if they don't jump over the corner, the first pick should be a bit of a freebie. They want to flash him off the angle. Delayed response. Trades come in quickly. The scope strikes against two. Favin survives on entry. And we're down to a 3v3 site push.
That was a well-crafted entry there from Favin as well. Systematically pushing Palace while they went through on ramp side. They smoked that molly, so he knows multiple players around here. Gets peeked in from smoke. Tizian out in the open. The spray's not there. And that leaves Cirque all by his lonesome. Gonna try and craft the masterpiece of a clutch. Tizian is low. Other two players healthy. First frag goes down. Canary down the mine shaft has found what they were looking for. And the poison has been averted by Oxygen. Breathing new life into this Entropiq CT side. They have the choice of going for double up if they want it. But it is going to be an easy defuse regardless. 5-2 the score and Bleed. They're getting plants. They're getting a little bit of success here and there. But when it comes down to those closing out of the rounds, they're struggling. And there were opportunities. I think it was Favin that pushed the CT side. He was just kind of like in his awkward position where he was trying to take multiple fights at once.
And I think for me, what's instantly drawing my eyes is just kind of where we're sat in terms of the players that are having influence in this game. But past few times we've seen Bleed at the minute, you know, we've been umming and ahhing saying, yeah, it looks like Cirque's starting to get back into his form, but he's been quiet. Into this one, he's actually laying out some haymakers early, but he's not got the help of the usual suspects. Launx was going absolutely gargantuan, round in, round out last time we saw him on Mirage. But CT side, P side, he was having a ball. Into this game, he's been quiet, and it's Tizian that's just tormenting them. Ruins them on entry towards ramp. 3 frags and still alive, so doesn't even concede his rifle and give up a rebuy onto this. And you've just got Hampus left with a deagle, sitting on his laurels, thinking where on earth did the entire team go off the back of the ramp push?
Hampus, this is all just about doing as much damage as possible. Deagle, a buy around the corner. You almost have a free hit here if you're Hampus, you know. Can you connect those headshots with a deagle? Can you pull out something spectacular? Narrowly missing out on that first chance. Gets the kill. Onto a weakened Tizian, who was team wounded down from Marix. But Entropiq now have strung together the last 4 rounds. And what's going to be a bit of a worrying sign here, Jacky, for me on Bleed, is they've only managed to get a plant down in 1 of those previous 4. And it was a fairly convincing, comfortable retake overall. So Bleed have got the bulk of their success early on in this half. They've got another chance. Let's see what they can do with another opportunity.
All AKs on this one as well. Kalashnikov's being the answer. Are they ready for the deep mid push though? Milky was looking to try and open it up with an aggressive play early on. Marek's just spamming on the corners of the smoke so he can get that better vision when the bullets pierce it. At least had a read on what Bleed were up to early. And Cypher's up to his old tricks, back to trying to be the noisemaker. Someone that draws attention towards the B bomb site. Walks ahead of the smoke though, just as the AWPer rotates round to assist. Cypher, is this the round where he becomes activated, where he becomes alive? He's got his crosshair honed on the perfect angle, looking for the headshot. Adjustments found, takes down the AWP, responds with the molly. Hampus comes over to assist, and Oxygen needs to backstab. Gets one, turns on a dime towards short. They line up for him. Silences 2 as the trade comes in. Cirque, beautiful reply.
Oh, exquisite turn of events. First Oxygen lines up 3, and it's Cirque's turn. to burn down Entropiq, putting it into Tizian, and Cirque gets a 4K overall, a 3K, pardon me. I thought he actually did get 4. Hamper's got the other kill, but a 3K all the same. And in doing so, gets Bleed across the finish line for the first time in 4, breaking the curse and giving them a little bit to get excited about. Tactical timeout comes in instantly afterwards, wanting to make sure that they fully exploit this opportunity. The door's slightly open. They want to barrage through there and bang it down if possible.
I give them props for the fact that they have been so consistent. Any of the Bleed games we've covered over this open qualifier, they've been one of the first teams to make use of these tactical timeouts the second there's an issue, the second a buy round goes wrong, or in these sort of scenarios where you finally upset the ebb and flow of the game, call in a pause, ice them out, figure out your buy exactly, figure out what you want to do, and have everyone drilled going back into things. And let comms calm down a bit as well. Still, Cirque being the Bulgarian bulldozer that we wanted to see into this one though, Vince. You know, we were kind of saying about the eye test of how Cirque's looking. At the minute, 20/20 vision from him, sitting pretty with 10 frags to his name and hitting a majority of those kills on the rifle as well. It's his AK play that has had me ranting and raving, not the AWPing. This time, Launx is late the rest by the scope though. This time it's Entropiq that hit the initial shot.
It's a great flash into Peak though, and Cirque fully blinded, couldn't see a thing. And as his eyes do clear, he'll realize he's going to have to sit on the bench for a few more moments. Favin, heavily tagged, has to back out of Palace. Very nice passage of play from Entropiq to kick things off in this round, taking the initiative, taking the bull by the horns, and making sure that they're going to dictate the pace of this round. Cypher in the smoke. Insta headshot from Marek's lightning fast reaction speed, and with both of the Bleed members remaining exceptionally low, I mean, this is a bit of a pill to swallow, Jacky. I think they're already thinking about potential save territory. You've got so much time to devour, so much time to eat up. The good news for them, though, is that Entropiq's funds are so low, they can't really justify throwing out plays to go hunting. And they're not even going to anticipate that just yet anyway. They're not probably unconfirmed damage on one of these two players. Still regard them as a threat. But Bleed are going to be pushing into the Palace. Doesn't look like they're going to get any success from this round, though. 7-3 is looking likely.
Feels like it. For Bleed, with no real HP, even between the both of them, there's not much you can do. Post up like gangsters, let this one tick on by, hang out in the Palace, and at least hold on to the investment you've got. It's still going to be better than what you'd be able to pick up into the next round if you were to fall. So armor's carried over. The Kevlar with the helmets firmly placed on the heads. And a bit of utility there. Mostly offensive. Double Molotov and a single HE. Flashbang for Favin. Entropiq picking up the real commodity of the game though, which is the 7th round. And remember, this is MR12 Counter-Strike. So this is them really licking their lips at the prospect they've been given into this first map of the best of 3. In a pretty good position. Controlling the game. Every time we've seen Bleed go back to basics and try and make their move out on middle, they've come unstuck. The one round they found success, it was down to Cirque's heroics to keep them in it, to even pick up the round and convert it into one on the board. Otherwise, it's been a lot of their A plays where they've been able to slip in and luckily find a few critical frags to make a move. This time, with a bit of a hodgepodge of a buy, multiple pistols in fruition, they opt to go for the split push on mid. Cypher and Favin going in through underpass, the rest of the squad walking up through their own smoke and looking to take control.
It's really difficult to kind of attain the information about how Bleed are going to do on each particular side. It's a super young, fresh roster, of course. Kassad behind the wheel as the coach. These 5 players, all very capable, but you'd think that although Kassad's probably installed quite a lot of protocols and ideas and tactics into this team, the CT side is probably where I expect them to shine a little bit brighter. So if they can get 4 or 5 rounds in the T-half, that might be good enough. Yes, it's been rough to watch at times. Yes, they've been, for the most part, kind of just outgunned on this first half of CS. But they're still not that far away, all things considered. And of course, there's still a few rounds to go before we get to that mark anyway. Milky takes the shot, falls back. He's going to be pressured, spots 2 players, just needs to survive. He has oxygen there as well, but they're being sideswiped from the short side, and they both fall down. No casualties in the side of Bleed, 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come through. 25 seconds, but that plant is going to come
Bomb down, time ticking. Tizian dives through the window. He's caught. Hampus, well-placed bullet. Favon supports as well as Collins goes down. Marix all on short. But I don't think he can come up big into this round. The M4 deals a bit of damage. Sure, the response is actually pretty clean. And they're giving him 1v1s. Peeking into him. Letting him have opportunities to fight, and tooth and nail, he bites his way back into this one. 3 frags before he's finally laid to rest by Launks. Winning that one out for Bleed by the skin of their teeth. But a bit of a difference in tempo. Bursting in, using the Tech 9s, taking those close quarters engagements, and looking a little bit quicker with the decision making. They at least find a 4th here, Vince. Ideally, you want to squeeze as much as you can out of this T side, though. Get a 5th round here, give yourself every fighting chance going onto that CT side. And with the buy Entropiq are able to muster, you do have an easier time of it.
Yeah, it felt a bit weird with Oxygen's position there, stuck on the wrong side of the site, not really offering Milky's AWP any real, reinforcements or cavalry whatsoever. He just got caught on the shorts. Meanwhile, though, speaking of Milky, he's put that scout to use. Marix, whose aim has been so very good, with 118 ADR and 15 kills to his name, slightly off, and Favon will punish him. And it's at quite a bit of cost to his health bar. 2/3 is evaporated. But still standing. Launks takes the opportunity to bypass through Con. Oh, and even though Cypher had the angle, Tizian still removes his head.
That's not normal, Cypher. Usually so sick with it, so slick with it when it comes to reactions. Must have been looking at his radar, comming something, because he did not reply in time. Instead, Hampus has to get the job done. Finds one over towards window. Struck back upon by the MP9 as the bullets will bite its way through him. Tizian quick on his feet, throws out the HE. So much damage inflicted onto Favon. The shrapnel and bullets bringing him down to 11. And Tizian with a clutch on his hands. We know how painful he can be with his hand cannon, but this time Launks get the better of him, and it will go 7-5 at the half. A few rounds towards the tail end that make this manageable for Bleed. It was looking rough over the course of the initial moments, Vince. It felt like Entropiq had their number every day of the week.
Yeah, and it's like you said, I mean, one of the few rounds that they got, after the initial barrage that we saw in round 2 and 3 was just a sort of hero play from Cirque, getting 3 kills, like spinning around and getting a double, quick fire double. Apart from that, there wasn't really much to get excited about if you Bleed. However, 7-5, respectable T half. This is the half I'm expecting to see a lot more things from them, though. I think this is where that stability may very well come in, allowing Cirque to position himself and kind of be a turret. Also, Launks was very quiet in that first half. He's normally one of those guys you look at to be a bit of a power player. So maybe him getting a 3K at the end of the half, waking up on the CT bodes well for Bleed. But let's find out. 4 players strong in Palace, and they have Tizian watching the ramp. Looks like it's going to be an A play, but Launks, speak of the man, and he will dispatch Oxygen with 1 bullet to the dome.
You've invoked his name, Vince. And that's when he starts to come alive, waiting for the push out here, the balcony bombardment. On the back of the bomb site, it's Favon, head ripped off, but Launks continues to punish. Rapid flicks as well. The adjustment on this man's wrist is absolute insanity. Finding 2 clinical frags, but still 2 players standing for the T side of Entropiq. One of them up in apartments, looking for the peek out and has to drop the bomb down. Instead, opts to just dive out himself. Marix with a P250, fires off a single connection. Cypher's sneaking up. The trap maneuver, delayed response, but still hits the head. Only good for 1, as it's down to the Glocketeer of Milky. 40 seconds on the clock, 1v2. Big dink on Hampus. Hard commits to the peek out. Leaves Cirque lifeless as well. He doubles back towards Connector, and they think he's still on site. Gone for the rotate round, but Cirque, he doesn't need an AWP, Vince. He's got a USP with a scope attached.
Yeah, he really hasn't needed the AWP this game. As you said, first half, it was all about the AK there, the USP coming out clutch. But keep in mind, Milky landed 2 headshots there. He gooshed both players who were very, very low. He had a chance. That's going to be a very disappointing outcome if you're him. Heroic attempt, but not quite good enough. And Bleed dial in success first. And more importantly as well than that, in some cases, they denied the bomb plant from Entropiq, so there's no options available here. They can't go for that Galil buy, the MAC-10 buy, and try and cruise through onto a site. It's going to be Glocks and no investment alongside it. So this is the kind of round, if you Bleed, you need to get this round, of course, but get it done cleanly. Don't lose any rifles. Don't give any unnecessary casualties away. And it's also great for just building confidence and padding those stats early on, of course.
And it really does feel like a large majority of this Bleed roster are one of those teams that need to feed the hot hand, need that confidence. If they start to hit their marks, they really do let the good times roll. Tizian, though, so sneaky as ever. He's been able to walk the whole way up through underpass, up in con, and can now backstab onto both of the mid-window players. Cirque has no idea, and he's pulled out the butcher knife. The blade comes in. Oh, Vince, at least it's denied by Cypher with the backup of Launx. Faven finds two with the Waters of Memphis as well as he washes his way over them. But that could have got a little bit spooky quite quickly.
Yeah, I think that would have been a bit of a jump scare moment. Suddenly, the knife plunged into the back. Fortunately, their second player window was able to react fast enough before the M4 was pulled out and used against the CTs. A couple of scary moments indeed, but Bleed have got their 7th and tie this up effectively, their bonus round, as they keep the MP9 in the hands of Hampus. Unfortunately for Cirque, though, that's going to do a little bit of damage towards his finances, and he drops to 950 after this plant, but the aggression is ruthless, and there's the Cypher that we've been waiting to see. Double spray from the flashes accompanying with Launx and Faven. And speaking of which, Faven is going to be in amongst the action again here, as Marix may get one, but he gets traded back instantly. Bleed in the ascendancy in this round, and no real hope of Entropiq getting that bomb down anytime soon. They've lost control over it.
The lead is a stone's throw away. But Launx, one of the big name players, is out of commission into this round at least. Round 15 now lies in the hands of Colin, Oxygen, Hampus, and Faven. The two T's up towards top mid. They have the bomb in the back pocket. Utilities at quite a low though. Molotov and a single smoke. AKs to work with. And Kevlar on both of the players. 50 seconds on the timer. You've got clear passage. If they want to go up short, go for a late B play, that avenue is open to them. Hampus doesn't have the best weapon for the job, but Faven certainly does. An AK watching over through connector. If he hits the mark, he could deny this push, but he's back towards ticket booth. They've got a clear walk up in. Hampus is towards the van, it seems as well, Vince, just playing for the run out through the apps. Oh, they could sneak right on up. The only potential downside to this is they don't clear their angles. You're so low on time, if they don't sniff him out soon, he could deny the plant and send the whole thing packing.
Taking this longer avenue, though, of approach gives him the advantage with the AK, but he still comes out second best. The MP9 rips and tears through his head, and although Hampus goes down, he's at least stalled enough time for Faven's rotation to be up close and personal. 5 seconds on the clock. Faven gets spotted, however. He's going to try and take the fight to Oxygen, who takes the head, removes it, and kicks it into the dirt. Entropiq clutch out this round and regain the lead.
Some clutch round shenanigans. It felt like the minute Hampus found that frag with the MP9 as well from such a distance, showing again the raw power that the MP9 has. It spits bullets like an absolute madman, but not only that, it's the power, how quickly that time to kill is in CS2. Ruins the first player, besting an AK. You thought it was all said and done there, but instead, Entropiq find their way back into it. Double entry at middle as well, denying the initial defense from the CTs. Faven looking to creep on out and at least look for a peek off the back of the window being broken. So the smoke cleared from his teammates Heichi. No freebie frags from it though. They were tucked in towards top mids, which could actually toy with Bleed a little bit, making them think that they'd already wrapped off when they're just cutting noise and letting the timer be another man on the server. So Bleed scratching their heads, wondering where this play is going to go.
Yeah, which is a really nice little mix-up of pace as well for Entropiq. They're anticipating, you can see the positions of their players up on the top boxes, watching for a potential flank, watching for a push through on middle side, anticipating that Bleed may get kind of desperate and go for some kind of aggressive play to regain the power of this round. And in doing so, they're just making Bleed sweat this one out. There's not much utility left. Smoke's just been tossed down onto Con. Still plenty of time left on the clock, but there is a stack on the B side, and it appears that Entropiq may be walking into their noose. They may be walking into a stack here, and that's where things get very scary indeed, because there's only 30 seconds left. By the time they've moved on to the site, it's going to be much less than that, and Faven's got the first. They probably just realized they've walked onto the stack site. Is there time to pull a plug and run away? There is. Oxygen on 1 HP. is able to dip, dive, and dodge his way back onto the A side, and will have a plant waiting for him.
At 1 HP, being more pivotal than ever. The difference of a 9th round all relied on that single hit point. As Bleed realizing things have gotten too far out of hand here. Can't chase, not worth the risk. You're throwing your weapons array. You're just throwing them into the wind, losing all of that investment for a potential round, not a guaranteed round. And that's going to be Entropiq moving up to 9. It felt like they had him hook, line, and sinker, Vince. Should have been a tied game, 8-8. Instead, Entropiq now move on to 9 and get away with all 3 of the rifles as well. They're able to hold on to this. They can get far enough back to evade the bigger bomb blast and carry those into the next.
Keep in mind as well, this was Bleed's choice of map. Next up is going to be Ancient. A map where Entropiq are certainly very capable. 11 maps played in the last 3 months with a 55% win rate. And some of the teams they've beat there, Endpoint, for example, they beat TSM, or a close game against TSM. Havu's another team they've played recently. So no slouches on that map. But obviously, we're not done just yet. Kind of glossing over the fact that this round is going to be a very rough ask from Bleed. Yes, they saved those 2 weapons, Jacky, but they decided not to invest behind it. Only Hampus with an incendiary and a smoke. Hard to see like where they're going to be able to maybe puncture in and snatch away a couple of lives. But they do have the Deeg in the hands of Cypher. And he is eagle-eyed, trained up onto the B-apps, where the bomb is residing currently.
And this is classic, mate. You put Cypher on the off angle, boosted up and towards the top box. If they don't clear it, all it takes is a commit on the bomb plant. Cypher surprises, strikes, and leaves them in a world of pain. That's if they even commit to this, though. No hard telltale signs from the body language that this is going to be a full commit into the B play just yet. They were double backing to make sure there had been no aggressive rotation from the CTs. A la how Tizian was playing it back on his CT side. Now the utility comes out, it's looking more like it will be the full commit. Damage done up through connector as well to try and keep Bleed firmly sat on the A site. Bomb, meanwhile, dives out towards the back of the van. Launch locks himself in a clash, but can't connect, Vince. It's all gone wrong. Fluffs his lines versus Collins. Cypher falls as well. That's the round gone.
Man, that's very uncharacteristic for Lonks as well. I mean, you remember watching him yesterday, Jacky. The guy was like, he was a laser beam. He wasn't missing. I think he dropped 21 to 25 kills in the first map. An absolutely devastated Grand Team. Now, this is a different level of opposition, of course, but that's the kind of spray where you're expecting him to get some success out of that one. It was a rough thing to watch, but got to go back to the drawing board. There is a bye coming up into that next round. 10-7 going to be the score. For those of you just joining us, by the way, this is a best of 3. It is the quarterfinals of the Open Qualifiers, and it's a bit of a strange one, but the winner of this best of 3 will qualify for the close qualifiers. There will be a semi and a finals, and that's all about seeding. So, loads up for grabs on both of these teams. Bleed, probably one of the most anticipated teams coming into this because of Kassad coaching, because of the roster that they also have, a lot of expectations to see how these guys deliver. But so far, Jacky, Entropiq, they're moving further and further ahead and closer to that all-important 13th round.
I think a scary talking point about this one is as well that this was Bleed's map pick. They wanted to take things to Mirage first. Following this, we'll have Ancient if we need it, waiting in the wings as the 3rd map. The bookend will be Inferno. So a lot riding on this one. It's not over till it's over. And this is one of the first times I feel like we've seen Cirque, Don and Orp over the course of this entire game. It's been all rifle. He might not even get a chance to use it. Barely blocked as he goes up through connector, getting away with inches of his life. Walks back through the smoke, offering himself up as sacrifice. Hampus has to swing on short to even deny the push. The Orp's gone, mid control's gone, and Entropiq, they've got complete control of the lay of the land. They can be in window, and they bloody well are. Collins finds the frag. First bullet connects on Hampus, and Favon is all the way back in CT spawn where the round started and probably where it's going to end for him.
Yeah, I think it's going to end with a save more than likely, right? I mean, his options are so grim, maybe hoping for some kind of a Bit of a mistake from Entropiq to push onto the A site, but this is going to be a save. 11-7 is going to be the score. Entropiq just aggressive up middle. Marex's aim, by the way, has been very impressive to me. How snappy he's been with these one taps, these double taps, and even his sprays have been on point. So been a huge determining factor with his 105 ADR and 20 kills going into the next round. But some of those heavy components that we saw, you know, we were waxing lyrical about how Cirque was a beast in that first half. He's not really maintained that form in the second half. It feels like they kind of fell away a little bit in terms of their fragging power here, Bleed. And there could be many reasons for that, but the end result is that Entropiq are having everything go their way. And now they find themselves only 2 rounds shy of taking the all-important 1-0 moving across the Ancient. Bleed have got to wake up here, and unfortunately, Jacky, it's a dire situation. Like, do you force in? Probably not. Not everyone's going to be able to get good weapons. If you don't, you're effectively giving up winning in regulation and playing for OT.
It's a hard call, man. These days with CS2, I think it comes down to basically a coin flip of, do you have just enough money that you feel confident to invest into an MP9, play an off angle, or do you rep yourself that you go, you know what, buy a deagle, hit the shot. In some instances, 5-7 as well, makes sense. Cypher, player that can be quite flashy with those pistols. You put him in a close angle, he'll rip your head off from time to time. So 2 M4s to work with. Lonks. This is more what we expected. He was very aggressive when we saw him previously on CT Mirage. It was a much lesser team than Entropiq, but the same thought applies. He was swinging into fights, taking angles, taking names, and letting him off the leash like that felt like it did so much for his individual confidence. Here you get the first pick. Marek's walking down into the bomb site as well. Barely gets himself in, tucked under. Backstab. Ooh, could have been clean, but Cirque rips the head off and Lonks backs them up, Vince. What is happening?
Holy, that P250 insta headshot is outrageous. There's no way that he should be winning out on that trade, especially against Marex, who has that crazy aim. But I kind of wrote this round off, thinking, yeah, it's going to very likely go the way of Entropiq. Well, Bleed had a couple things to say about that one. They're not out of the round just yet as victors. They have to deal with Oxygen and Milky. He's in the palace, but he gets caught. Still nullifies Cirque, but at great cost to his health bar. 15 remaining in the range of all of the weapons that Bleed now have mustered up. But it's about that second component. They're not entirely sure where Milky is. I don't think they spot him. I don't think he's even rattled a shot off this round from mid. But he may be about to give his position away there on Con. Indeed. Runs out into the open, embracing arms of Lonks, who kicked the round off for the first frag on ramp. Full circle with a 4K, and he is now waking back up again, which is great news for Bleed.
Yeah, that's massive, mate. That's the game changer. It was all about Lonks. Honestly, he was the MVP for this team last time we saw them, and the time before that as well. It felt like he really was stretching his legs time and time again. Now he's in the driving seat. The sleeping giant has woken up. 14 frags to his name. Couldn't have come at a better time either. You actually have firepower to work with, and we've got a game on our hands again here now. If they can connect a few rounds, you can keep yourselves in this. It's certainly not over yet. Entropiq haven't made it to 13. The game keeps going. Cirque breaks the smoke. The cheeky HE face off the back of it. No one there for him. No chance for an initial kill. Resets and hones his crosshair inside of the shop, playing for the B-side bombardment. Meanwhile, Favard posts up close ramp, playing anti-flash. Turned into it though, Vince. Can't respond because of it. Turned slightly too early. Collins gets a double because of that, and the A-side defense is crumbling.
Those minuscule moments can make the biggest difference, and Lonks may get one, but it's going to be an abrupt end. Milky pushes him down in round 20. It was looking like a resurgence, a second win for Bleed, but the door has been closed in their face. They still have hampers. And Cirque, after that magnificent P250 kill that really turned that last round on its head, so important, is still alive. And we haven't seen him do much with the AWP this game. It's mainly been the rifles and the pistols. Well, now he has a chance to show us why. At one point, he was a very hyped individual. Back all those years ago now. 35 seconds. Spots the first player come out. That's a beautiful flick onto Marex. Smoke up as well, but he gets dispatched hampers from the AK, and that now leaves it all on Cirque. 1 on 2. They know where he is. Plant on the opposite side. Understandably trying to keep themselves out of harm's way. I just can't see how Cirque gets back into this now. a USP. He's being flanked in amongst all of that. He also, I believe, is ran dry on his AWP. He doesn't even have any AWP shots at his disposal. May need to trade up to the M4, but he gets shut down anyway. And that means that Entropiq now have 4 map points. Bleed struggling and submerged could be pushed under for good if they can't bounce back right now.
Running out of oxygen at this point. Beginning to go under. Head bobbing. What have you got for yourselves, really? At least a buy to play with. And this is just the classic Band-Aid fix, Vince. Things are going wrong. CT side Mirage. What do? Slap a second scope into the mix. Go for the double AWP. This time it's Faven that will take the secondary. Up middle as well. Cypher playing more aggressive. That's his bread and butter. Let Cypher go in and attempt to make a play. Collins wandering in through the short smoke already, though. Bypasses him and gets a pick up onto your primary AWP. Zerk dropped. Cypher struggling for the follow-up as well, Vince. Oh, that's a blunder that's going to cost you greatly. This could be the game in the palm of the hand for Entropiq, as right now there's only 2 players left and they're bleeding numbers.
Oh my god, Milky can't miss. He just doesn't miss a shot. And yeah, shades of that launch spray from earlier on Cypher, proving these guys are human after all. Exceptional talents. But those kind of mistakes cost so much. And now Lonks has to pick up the pieces, has to try and put that jigsaw puzzle back together. That broken vase of Mirage. Get the super glue out. Spots the head, but there's the flash and the peak from Oxygen. And Entropiq get it done 13-8.